Good morning, and welcome to this Deck the Halls edition of IFPA's 2020 Industry Insights, community publishing webcasts brought to you by the Board of Directors of the Independent Free Papers of America. Now, aside from the upcoming holidays, this is a very significant session of 2020 because, among other things, today marks the end of our 5th year of these sessions. And on top of that, this particular session crushed the previous record for pre-registrations. We have a ton of new folks in here, and we welcome them. My name is Bob Munn. With the support of the IFPA Board of Directors, we're completing our 5th year of 2020 webinars, the community publishing industry's premier webcast training series. We're gathered here today to address the second biggest reason that sales don't get made. Sales managers who've collectively reviewed tens of thousands of call reports can back me up on this. Over the years, we've talked a lot about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of no sale. My budget is gone, advertising doesn't work, ambivalence, but by far the most deadly of these is not interested. I'm not interested. That's where sales calls go to die. The most deadly of the 4 horsemen and the second biggest reason sales calls fail. Today in Quick Pitch, we're going to become interesting. We're going to blow right through that not interested smoke screen and defeat the second biggest obstacle to our sales success. What's the number one reason sales don't get made? Not making the call in the first place. And here's your holiday bonus. By the time we finish with Quick Pitch, we're going to knock out call reluctance too. The top 2 obstacles to your sales success in one webinar. No doubt about it, it's going to be a Christmas miracle. Let's get started. Three media reps walk into a car dealership. Now, this isn't a joke. Eventually this happens to every one of us, and it's deadly serious. This is where money is made and lost. 3 salespeople walk into a car dealership. You, some hipster-looking guy, and a hot chick from the radio station. General manager, who has probably intentionally triple-booked you, comes into the waiting room and tells you he has time to talk to one of you. One appointment. Who gets it? General manager looks at each one of you and challenges. What do you got? Have you ever been in a similar situation? Now, the hipster's promoting some newly fashionable digital mobile social media thing. Radio lady has free concert tickets and a bunch of discounted run-a-schedule spots that she has to move. So what do you have? I'll tell you what you have. You have 30 seconds to win or lose this sale. 30 seconds to win or lose. Would you call that a moment of truth in your sales career? At this point, when I do this presentation live, I can look at the faces around the room and know what the majority of the people are thinking. The looks are unmistakable. The majority is wondering some form of, what if he goes around the room and makes us answer this? Now, that's not what we're about. We're not here to embarrass people. But we can't say the same for some of our prospects, some of those people you call on, can we? They don't mind putting you in a jam. They like having the power to put you in a moment of truth. We can feel sorry for ourselves and think of them as sadists, and they probably are, but there's something more important going on here. In your moment of truth, they're making instant decisions about you and your product. While you're scrambling for something to say, they're mentally doing a cost-benefit analysis to determine if you're worth their time. They'll give you 30 seconds to convince them. Your job is to have your quick pitch locked, loaded, and ready to get that done. We break every sales call down to 4 stages. On that decision diamond call report on the back of the page of your workbook, it's all there, but it doesn't matter how good your presentation is. It doesn't matter how strong you think your closing skills are. Nobody's going to see that stuff if we can't capture the prospect's imagination at the beginning. If we can't engage them, we can't sell them. It's as simple as that. We have to get on base before we can score. 30 seconds to win or lose. Those are the stakes. Now, here's what we're going to do about that today. We're going to look at 3 examples of quick pitches. One will win the day for our hero with the car dealer, and it's something that most of you can take home and adapt to your market and use next week. Another is one I've been using, and some of you won't like it, but I have confidence in it, and it's been good to me. And the third one is from the guy who beat me in an elevator pitch shootout at Jeffrey Gitomer certification training. Now, you should have received a workbook, this PDF of the template you can use to begin creating your very own personal quick pitch. That 30 seconds is going to be uniquely you, and you're going to create it with the template in this workbook. If you didn't receive that PDF, you can download it from your GoToWebinar dashboard right now. Okay, if we only have 30 seconds to win or lose, we got to get cracking. Most of us out there, we write our own customers' advertising messages, right? Are you pretty good at it? What's the most important element of the ads you create? Advertisers have seconds to capture and hold your reader's attention. And the sharpest tool in your kit is an attention-grabbing headline with a strong value message, isn't it? A strong headline with a compelling value statement. Over the years, you and I have written thousands of headlines to grab people's attention, to inspire people to remember, to spotlight key selling points. Headlines are snapshots that compel people to dig deeper and learn more about a larger story. Quick Pitch does the same job. In fact, throughout this session, I'll be using the term quick pitch and headline interchangeably because I thought you might get tired of hearing the words quick pitch so often. Your quick pitch is your headline for you. We write headlines all the time. How tough can this be? What's your headline for you? If we boil this session down to one slide, this one would be it. When I do this live, I tell them, the sooner you can crush this answer into 30 seconds, the sooner we can all go to the bar. Who are you, and why do you matter? Answer that question, you've got your quick pitch. And we'll make it even simpler. I hate to burst your bubble, but most sales prospects won't remember your name until you matter. If they see something in it for them, they'll get your name. Does that seem a little cold, somewhat harsh, too impersonal? Well, here's the good news. Things warm up really nicely when a prospect believes you can help her get something she wants. We earn her time and attention by how much we matter to her. That's all there is to quick pitch. Pretty simple, right? Now, as I've been talking, has anyone had the term elevator speech go through their mind? The elevator is a nice metaphor for a spontaneous opportunity. Speech, not so much. You can Google elevator speech and get nearly 2 million results. Most of them, maybe all of them, totally worthless. Elevator speeches are invariably long, meandering, and dull. Have you ever heard one that wasn't? People get hung up on the word speech and it gets out of control. Quick pitch isn't a speech. It's a headline that answers the question, why do you matter to the prospect? Okay, this is from a friend of mine. We met during, of all things, an elevator speech competition at Jeffrey Gitomer certification training, and his was the one that beat mine. Lou represents a company that creates software and information systems for hospitals. You've heard about the mandatory medical electronic record keeping. That's his wheelhouse. Now, I'm told that if we think car dealers have egos, hospital CEOs take that to another level. And at this particular hospital, Lou did his diligence, worked his way up through the department heads and the purchasing agent, but he could never get in front of the real decision maker, that CEO. His sale was stuck in the mud. Then one day, totally by chance, Lou is visiting the hospital and happens upon this elusive CEO walking alone to his office. Not exactly an elevator, but good enough. The guy knew who Lou was, and he figured he was trapped, so he dismissively says, "You have until I reach my office door." Is that time for a speech? Here's what Lou said. Last year, this hospital had 3 loss-of-life incidents attributable to missing or delayed patient information. As a consequence, You had to make phone calls to 3 grieving families. I'm here to make sure you never have to make one of those calls again. By this time, they're in the CEO's reception area. Guy turns to his secretary and says, "Schedule a meeting with this man for tomorrow." That was the beginning of a sale in the multiples of millions of dollars. Millions. Because Lou gave that guy a quick lesson in why he mattered. Why was that pitch so effective? Look at it. It's just a little north of 40 words. What makes it so powerful? The magic in Lou's words is called a hook. Hooks are compelling. Hooks stick in people's minds. The hook is what great advertising and every popular song from Irving Berlin to Taylor Swift have in common. Your quick pitch needs a hook. That means 3 things. It has to be customer focused, it has to create value, and it needs to inspire an extended conversation. Whether it's an advertising headline or a quick pitch, the winners are customer specific. Was Lou's pitch about the customer? Look at it. There's nothing in there about databases and all the Buck Rogers stuff his company does. It's all about the customer and his challenge. I've heard it said that a great pitch is like holding up a mirror in which customers see themselves. Isn't that a great line? A mirror in which customers see themselves. I wish I'd said it. When Lou paints that picture, the CEO sees himself, doesn't he? The litmus test for a quick pitch is to ask yourself how much of it is about the salesperson and how much of it is about the customer. Lou's pitch is all about the customer, and that's what makes it a hook. The more value your quick pitch creates, the stronger the hook. That's the straw that stirs the drink. Your value is your capability stated in terms of the customer. Your capability stated in terms of the customer. Always in terms of the customer. That's the only value they understand. Now, how did Lou create specific value for that CEO? Was that pitch compelling because it was about saving lives? Or because the CEO wouldn't have to make those unpleasant phone calls? We can only guess how altruistic the motives were, but in 40 words, Lou covered both of those bases. Regardless what that CEO thought value was, Lou had it nailed. But the ultimate test of your headline is, can it spark a conversation? If it inspires your prospect to talk with you, you have a hook. A compelling pitch captures the prospect's imagination. It intrigues the prospect to want to know more. That's a conversation starter. Conversations create relationships, and relationships create sales. Lou's quick pitch was a catalyst for a multi-million-dollar relationship. An extended, mutually beneficial relationship that only had an opportunity to grow because his message had a strong hook. 2 ways for your quick pitch to start a conversation. One is to be undeniable. A high-octane, industrial-strength quick pitch like Lou's stood alone. That CEO was netted and in the boat. He flat out surrendered. But that's rare. It's nice when it happens, but we can't depend on it. So how do we get our prospects to make this a 2-way street? How do we let prospects know when it's their turn to talk? Simple. We ask a question at the end. For you old schoolers out there, that's your trial close. I've never thought to ask him, but I would be willing to bet that if that CEO hadn't set the appointment, the next words out of Lou's mouth would have been some form of, "Would you like to talk about it now, or would tomorrow be better?" A simple, double-choice question like that can be magic. Don't ever pass up an opportunity to use it. Okay, we know about creating value. We see the importance of customer focus, and we know our goal is to create a conversation. That's how we set a hook. Very soon, you're going to begin the process of creating your own quick pitch. But I promised you one that each of you could adapt for your market and use, and for that, let's go back to our heroes at the car dealership. Remember these folks? 3 sales reps, 1 appointment. The hipster dude has a cocktail of social media and mobile advertising. Radio lady has concert tickets and some cut-rate spots. And you know now that the winner here is going to be the one who is most customer-focused, creates the most value, and is the most interesting to talk to. So when that auto dealer gives you the "what do you got" challenge, each one of you can say some version of this. I represent 2,300 households within 20 miles of this dealership that intend to spend $44 million on new or used cars this year. I'd like to talk to you about them. Who gets the meeting? 2 of the 3 are going to get "I'm not interested," and 1 is going to get "come on back." Who earned the meeting? And I know somewhere out there's a wise guy like me who just said it depends on who's playing at the concert. But how does this stack up as a quick pitch? Is it customer focused? 27 of those 29 words are about the customer, aren't they? Does it establish your value? No one else in your market is talking like this. They're each selling their particular medium and putting lipstick on those pigs with value added. But you and I can sell audience. Do you get that? We can sell audience. While everyone else is trying to shove ads down this dealer's throat, you and I are talking about an audience that's ready to buy what he's selling. You aren't representing an advertising medium. You're representing $44 million in sales. Did you know you could say that? How many of you are aware that you already hold the tools to support a quick pitch like this for dozens of business categories in your market right now? It's all in your Circulation Verification Council package that accompanies your IFPA membership. The most versatile tools a community publication can muster. Look at this. Now, we hit this really hard in our 2020 session on selling with your CVC audit, and we don't have a lot of time to go deep, but are you aware that your CVC package has a spreadsheet like this one, customized specifically for your market and your publication's audience? You see that list of business categories in the second column? You have access to your audience's purchasing potential for each one of these business categories. Automotive was just one we pulled for this example. You could do the same pitch for a chiropractor, an appliance dealer, or a restaurant. Data is the breakfast of champions, and this is powerful stuff. Now, if you're already using your CVC data effectively, it's apparent to you that the numbers for your market and your publication are probably considerably different from these. The numbers we use for this car dealer come from what Tim Bingaman calls an average scoring 10,000 circulation paper. So depending on the size of your market, yours is going to differ. But if you're really using CVC effectively, you know that using it to project your prospect's customer opportunity like we did here is only the beginning. Now, I could go way off the rails here and start doing CVC training, but that's for another day. Best advice I can give you is contact Tim Bingaman at CVC World Headquarters and schedule a free training that's specific to your data for your market. It can change your life. But until then, back to quick pitch. If you want your prospects to see you as customer focused, if you want your prospects to think of you as representing value, if you want to be someone your prospects find intriguing to talk to, your CVC audience data is the key to a quick pitch that gets it done. Now, if someone questions your CVC credibility, if you make those statements and they say, "Where do you get those numbers?" or "That can't be right," or whatever. Okay, here's your response. This data is the product of an independently funded national buying power survey that was recently conducted in this market under the guidance of 15 of the top media buying organizations in the country. That's not a bad note to be taken, so I'll hold this slide for a couple more beats while I assure you that this is neither smoke nor mirrors. Every word of this slide is absolutely accurate and verifiable. CVC has 15 of the top media buying organizations in the country on its board of directors. They don't serve because Tim's a nice guy. They serve because their livelihood depends on accurate market research to make their buying decisions. They have as big a stake in the accuracy of this data as your local merchants. Now, there was a time when your CVC audit was just there to document your circulation. That's its name. But in this world, your secret weapon is the buying power of your readership. That's a note to be taken. In this world, your secret weapon is the buying power of your readership. Now, earlier, I pointed out that what I thought was the most important slide in this presentation, but if you aren't selling this way already, this one is damned close to being the most important slide. You have a great story to tell, and IFPA and CVC are going to help you sell it. Note this well. Your CVC data is a perfect snapshot of the audience you deliver. Your audience is what rings your customer's cash register, and that matters. You see the power of your CVC data, right? If you've been exploiting its potential all along, you could take this approach on the street this afternoon. On the other hand, some of you have it gathering dust in your briefcases waiting for someone to ask a circulation question. First thing you need to do, get in touch with Tim Bingaman at CVC. He'll schedule personal telephone training for your sales team with your local numbers. I can't believe he still does that for free. After that, for a refresher, you can check out the new monthly Selling with Your CVC Audit module that's going to be part of IFPA's Quick Start program for salespeople that we'll be talking about later. But by all means, do the session with Tim first. When you're finished with that, take that data and start using it to make your customers some money. We know the customer focus and creating value, and we know that our goal is to create a conversation, but there's still a piece missing. The most unique aspect of a great hook is what you bring to it. In a moment of truth, with seconds to prove that you matter, do you want to be throwing down with someone else's words or your own? Your quick pitch has to be your words, your way, your heart behind it. It has to be about how you feel about your customers and the value that only you can create for them. That's what these handouts are for, to create your very own personal quick pitch. Let's start writing a quick pitch that's yours. Your words, your way, your heart. While we've been talking, has anyone had a flashback to some past moment of truth when you needed a strong response to some form of what do you got or what do you do? It can happen on sales calls. It can happen at chamber after hours. It can happen at a family reunion when your drunk uncle wants to know what you did with all that money you spent on a college education. Regardless where it happens, make no mistake, you're being called out because what those questions really ask is, why do you matter? Regardless how righteous a life you live, regardless how great a product you represent, a challenge like that demands a compelling answer, a quick pitch with a strong hook. I used to kid myself that I was quick enough to ad-lib my way through anything that got thrown at me. And then after a few years of driving home agonizing over what I wish I had said, I got serious about it. And I guarantee you, Lou knew what he would say in that situation days before he actually encountered that CEO. Top performers, the winners in this game, anticipate these challenges. They have their responses polished, locked, and loaded. And this worksheet is your first step to being ready. You'll be doing most of this on your own, but let me set you up. Second page of your worksheet is a quick inventory of what we have to work with. Your quick pitch really answers 3 questions. What do you do? What problem do you solve? What difference do you make? That's the foundation of quick pitch. What you do, what problem you solve, what difference you make. This is the workshop part of this, and we're at a bit of a disadvantage here because when we have a bunch of people in a room, they can hitchhike on each other's answers. I know some of you are viewing this as a team, and at this point, that's the ideal way to do this because at this point, we want to stockpile every possible answer to these questions. Don't be shy about compiling a big list of things you do for your customers. The more we have, the better off we are. We can be selective later. At this point, the more we have, the more we can build upon. And that's going to help you create your own unique statement on the next page. What do you do for your customers? Is that a tough question? What do you do for your customers? For example, if you're thinking, well, I deliver my customer's message to more homes than any other local advertising medium, make that one of your answers to your questions. Put that in the list of those things that you do. Do you like to emphasize the audience you deliver? Then make it about your audience. What else do you do for your customers? How does a customer benefit from doing business with you? Write it down. Scary, huh? You've probably already figured out that this is not the kind of exercise you'll finish in a 1-hour workshop. This is going to take some time, but let's be clear. The time you choose to invest in this is the difference between top performers and those pretenders who will always be with us. It's going to take some trial and error, and it's definitely going to take more than one copy of this worksheet. I left you room for 3 drafts on the next page, but you'll go through that pretty quickly. That's why the PDF format. Make as many as you need. You can always make more. But let's continue with the inventory. What problems have you been solving for your customers? There are as many potential answers to this one as there are customers. Remember that decision diamond we looked at earlier? There's one on the back page of your handout. If you're consistently doing a good job at second base, that interview stage of your sales call, you've uncovered any number of challenges that your customers face. Now, another way to do it is let your customers write your headline. Ask your current customers what problems you solve for them, or better yet, ask them for endorsements and referrals that you've been meaning to get anyway, and read what they say. A strong headline okay, let's be real honest. If you have difficulty coming up with answers to these questions, it might be a reason you find it difficult to make new business calls. Remember how we were going to address call reluctance? People with strong, quick pitches look forward to being in that position. They enjoy putting it to work. A strong headline is the single most effective cure for call reluctance. When a salesperson gets that down, they're a force to be reckoned with. They pursue more new business, and customers are happy to engage with salespeople who matter. Let's be clear. You represent the most powerful advertising medium in your community. I guarantee you're solving problems. Write them down. Finally, what difference do you make? It's nearly Christmas. Has everyone done their annual penance and watched It's a Wonderful Life? The story of the difference one individual can make in the lives of their friends and community. What difference do you make for your customers? What happens because you're part of their team? What wouldn't happen if you weren't there? Now, admittedly, kind of heavy, but the question remains, what difference do you make for your customers? Write it down. When you complete your 3-question inventory, it's time to build on that foundation and start writing your headline for you. It's time to turn what you do for your customers into a compelling statement of your value. That reason your prospect should invest 15 minutes of her life that she can never get back with you. That's your headline. Those are the words you can take into battle. Your answer to your prospect's question, why do you matter to me? That's what she's asking, right? Answer that question in less than 40 words, with each of those words laser focused on your prospect. Words that assure your prospect that you mean value for her. Words that inspire a mutually beneficial conversation that can ideally continue for years. When you can do that, your quick pitch has a hook. Now, before we go any further, let's take some pressure off. I can't imagine anyone nailing this on their first draft or their second or their third. Like we said before, it's going to take more than one copy of this worksheet before you're happy. To stay sane, your game plan should be to reread, review, rewrite, rinse and repeat. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You can do very well with that CVC pitch in the short term while you're perfecting this. I don't want you to get frustrated and burn out. Don't go there on me. That having been said, a little writing advice. Check it over closely. If you find vapor talk words, those new cliches like paradigm or synergy, robust, or full suite of services, or if you use the word advertising, sharpen a pencil, stick it in your eye, and start over. Seriously, we're shooting for brevity and clarity. Jargon just mucks it up. And it's impossible to use the word advertising and not have it be about you. So let's just shortcut that right now. It's your headline, but it has to be about your prospect. Here's the nasty secret about writing these openers. You're never finished. I can't begin to tell you how many versions I've been through. I've been doing this for years, but I was moving words around as recently as last Tuesday. This isn't a one-time exercise. This is a rinse and repeat for days, months. In my case, it was years. Here's something I didn't have when I started. When you're creating trial drafts, experimenting with ways to show that you matter, you can give yourself instant feedback. Measure that hook you have on the 1 to 3 scale in the lower right-hand corner of each draft. That'll keep you on track and remind you what's important. Here's my guarantee. The more you revisit this exercise, you'll discover new reasons that you matter to your customers. You'll find new ways to express the value that you deliver, and your words and delivery will become more polished. You'll see the improvement and you'll enjoy the feeling of growth. You'll make it uniquely you. And that will be bring you a multifold return on your time investment. Finding your perfect words is frustrating. It's a long-term project. It's an ever-evolving challenge. What we do, the problems we solve, the difference we make. That's a lot to think about. But consider what it really means. We're talking about the unique selling proposition for you, the core reason that people do business with you. What, outside of your family, could be more important? 2 questions. How much time do you devote to thinking about the reasons people do business with you? And how much time do you currently invest in refining and polishing the headline for your story? And finally, how much time and effort does it deserve? This isn't an exercise you'll complete in an hour, like we said. It's a quest. But if you really take this to heart, it's something you'll be revisiting, revising, and polishing for the rest of your career. Welcome to the jungle. Okay, let's settle up. I promised you 3 quick pitches in addition to this template to create your own. First, you got loose, so you're prepared if you ever have to sell software to a hospital. A little closer to home, if you didn't know it before, you saw that you can and absolutely should adapt your local CVC data to create the headline for your sale. And the third and final example is my own. It's the product of decades of experiment, trial, and error, mostly error. I started the same way you are today, with a blank sheet of paper. What I'm going to show you hung around in pieces of my notes for years before I realized what I had. You can take the CVC approach onto the street almost immediately and be successful with it. That's where you should start. Your CVC pitch is fundamental. The sooner you get it down, the sooner you focus on selling your audience, the better off you're going to be. And it's going to make it easier to write the rest of this once you're in tune with your audience. I'm offering this third pitch for comparison and conversation, and I'm not recommending that you adopt it. It certainly isn't for everyone. I can only speak for myself. This headline gives me the confidence to cold call any prospect, anytime, anywhere, because it reminds me why I matter to my customers. I can show you customers who are more profitable than the ones you have now. One of 2 things usually happen when I say that. They will either look at me skeptically or ask some form of, how can you do that? Either way, the next thing I say is, here's my guarantee. Even if you don't feel ready to pursue this kind of growth, I'll fully explain how this works. I'll answer every question and show you everything you want to know about how we do it at no obligation to you. Do you have time right now, or would you like to set an appointment? How'd I do? Does my prospect think this is about her or me? It's her customers and her profit. There's nothing in here about advertising, my publication, or my promotion schedule. Her profitability is way more interesting to her than any of that. Can my prospects see value in more profitable sales? That answers itself. Is this something that would inspire a prospect to engage in a longer conversation? If someone isn't curious about pursuing more profit, they aren't a prospect worthy of your time. Anyway, that's the way I do it. Okay, I'm crushing the time barrier, but what else is new? I want to check your questions before we bail out of here. That's the one I was looking for. Okay. Someone's paying attention. Because this is the same challenge I got from Jeffrey Gitomer when I did this in front of him until I explained it. The question is, how can I credibly claim to someone that I can bring them customers more profitable than the ones they have now? What gives me the right to claim that I can make their sales more profitable? Fair enough. My goal in this, just as it is yours, is to initiate a conversation. On our decision diamond, that takes place at the interview at second base, the most critical stage of any sales relationship. We're going to have a conversation about my prospect's business. We're going to talk about her customers, the ones she has and the ones she'd like to have. We're going to talk about her vision for the business and what she thinks is possible. And we're going to talk about the obstacles that may stand in her way. I'm going to learn what she's proud of and what she hopes for and what she's afraid of. And you'd be surprised how often prospects become engrossed in that conversation and forget about the whole profit thing I used to inspire the interview in the first place. But your question remains, how can I show them more profitable sales? How many of you took Economics 100? The basic entry-level economics course? It might have had a different course number in your world. Out of everyone on this call, I should know more about Econ 100 than any of you. Really. I took it 3 times. Even with that, this didn't come from a classroom. I learned it at IFPA. I first encountered it when Charlie Mauser used to say, the purpose of advertising is to reduce the cost of a merchant's next sale. Huh? That sat in my notes for years before I finally understood its full power, but that happened a lot with Charlie and me. The first person I ever saw draw this up was Wayne Cox, a name that few of you will remember, but I believe he was IFPA's 3rd president back in the day and highly underrated historically in my view. But he was the first one to show me what I'm about to show you right now. If you asked a merchant, what is the most profitable sale you can make, what would they say? Probably some version of, well, I sell widgets, and gadgets have a larger markup, but widgets usually sell 4 or 5 at a time, so, it could go on like that for hours. There's a better answer. Every business looks like this. Every business has specific costs and overhead that never go away. Stuff like rent, utilities, debt service, core personnel. What do you call that? Fixed costs are always with us. Now, keep in mind the graph we're building here could be for any time period, a year, a quarter, a month, even a day. It all works out the same. When a business makes its first sale, is it profitable? No, rarely, because the initial sales in a reporting period all go to covering the overhead, the fixed costs. Any margin you have on those sales goes right to those fixed costs. It's like driving a truck up a hill in second gear. Those first few sales are just a slog. But eventually, you crack the barrier and cover those fixed costs. What's that called? Break even, right? There's no rocket science here. You cover your costs and you start bringing money home. That's why you got into this in the first place. You do that after you reach the break-even point. But look what happens when you keep going. Once the overhead is covered, do you see how each new sale drives the gap between overhead and revenue wider and wider? All that money that went to fixed costs is now going to their pocket. The most profitable sale you can make is the next one. Most local business people overlook that. The most profitable sale you can make is the next one. Now, talk about overlooking things. For years, I drew this on cocktail napkins, butcher paper, shopping bags, anything that was handy, but I didn't use it for a headline. I only pulled it out when prospects told me they didn't need more business. Remember the four horsemen of the apocalypse of no sale? Okay, we've all run into the one who said, well, I'm all covered up. I got all the business I can handle, right? Check this out. The independent business person who has maxed out their capacity probably has a point. They've slogged through all that quagmire of fixed costs in second gear, and finally they're banking some money. So they're understandably reluctant about trying to take in that money that they've just garnered and invest in some of that fresh, new cash in order to keep having to work as hard as they have been. That's their mindset. Have you ever had one saying, well, sure, I'd like to make 25% more money, but I can't work 25% harder. They don't realize they're buried in a comfort zone. Charlie Mauser used to call it miserably comfortable. They don't see how close they are to clearing really good money. Here's the magic. They've already done the hard work. Once they get out of that fixed cost quagmire, more and more of each additional sale goes to profit. Each new sale you bring them adds exponentially to their bottom line. They don't have to work 25% harder to make 25% more money. Now, I'll give you an example that's closer to home. Did you ever reluctantly add 4 pages to your publication and then realize that you only had to sell one of them to break even? It's the same thing. The most profitable sale you can make is the next one. I apologize for going off the rails there, but once I get started with that stuff, it's tough to get stopped. There's actually more to talk about, and in putting this presentation together, I'm convinced there's probably a second, much more detailed session we can do on Quick Pitch. So if you'd like to see more on this, let me know, and I'll try to get that done for you. But before I close, I want to give you a heads up on something that I hope can be looking forward to in the new year. IFPA wants to continue to build on the success of those 2020 webinar programs and the 3-month-old sales managers share group. We feel that the most vital area is fundamental sales training, especially for, but not limited to, new hires. In the next year, we'll be introducing Quick Start, 4 live fundamental sales training modules that will repeat monthly. You 2020 veterans have seen some of these topics before. Well, what we'll do differently with these is limit the number of participants per session somewhere around 5, so that we can open the mics and communicate both ways. These sessions will be interactive rather than the 2020 lecture format. We think that this is the best possible learning format, especially for folks who are new to the game. We'll keep you posted on this. If you have any questions in the meantime, contact me, and in one way or another, we'll build this thing together. In the meantime, here's what you saw this morning. You've seen the opportunity that exists in the moment of truth at the beginning of a sale. You understand the question a sales prospect demands that you answer. We've shot some holes in the whole elevator speech myth and put you on the road to creating a customer-focused, value-packed headline that shows your prospect why you matter and inspires them to engage with you. Hopefully you've been inspired to revisit the power in your CVC tools and utilize them to their fullest. And you've grasped the importance of those CVC tools in selling your audience. And I'm really hoping you continue to pursue the ideas behind Quick Pitch. And as I said, if you want to get more detailed on this, let me know, and I'll put that session together. By my standards, this may seem a little bit out of character, but as we approach the one time in our year that we set aside for reflection and redemption, my wish is that you and your loved ones bask in the warmth and glow of these coming days, and know that I wish you all a fulfilling holiday season and a safe, successful future. Thank you for your attention these past 5 years, and I wish you many more prosperous years to come. Those are my words, my way, with my heart behind it. Thank you.